Before I start the commentary proper, I'd like to thank Michael Schomer for sharing this video with me. He first shared his one-shot commentary on Roaring Thunder Pursuit, which I thought was a good commentary. A few days after I saw his one-shot, he showed me Thunder's response to him, which Thunder called a one-shot commentary, but as will be illustrated as I go on, it's more than one shot. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. On with the commentary.
Do you see this hole behind me? That's going to be the size of each of your assholes when I'm done with you.
A 26-second long intro that consists solely of a clip from DBZ abridged with a "Don't mess with the savage" text overlay, and ending the intro with That's not much of an intro, dude. I'm sorry. You can at least make it more engaging and descriptive by adding more text saying who the subject of the commentary is and what the original video is, like what Red and Rhino and I do.
Shorten your interjections. The first interjection took nearly 6 minutes before we get to the next point on Tyler's commentary. That is just insanity.
If you had eyes, then you would see that I had found 3. Yes, 3 things wrong with the first misconception and or interjection in Tyler's video. So you should have known that I was debunking his first claim in 3 consecutive parts.
6 minutes to debunk his first claim in 3 consecutive parts. That averages out to 2 minutes per part. You better have had a lot to say in those segments. Given how often you seem to linger on text, you apparently assume that most of the people who watch these videos are very slow readers. I think you could get away with speeding some of this up. In fact, I'll speed this up a bit right now by cutting out 4 seconds of his lingering on this particular bit of text, since it took very little time to read that part. I'll be doing a lot of that fat trimming, and I mean a lot, to the point that I'm not even gonna bother using skip transitions to point them out.
If I had spoken, which I had chose not to, by the way, then I would have ran through all 3 parts of his first claim in under 2 minutes.
Well, why didn't you speak? Saying that you chose not to implies that you still have a working microphone and can still record audio, so why didn't you this time around? There's a reason many commentators do not make text-only commentaries anymore. If the audience wanted to read text, they'd probably just read the comment section. And hell, some commentators simply leave what they have to say about a video in the comment section without making a video commentary. If people are watching your video, and your commentaries in particular, it's because they want to hear your rebuttals, as in actually hear you talk. If you're just gonna make a text-only commentary, then you're better off expressing your thoughts as a comment on the video. I wish you had done it that way. It would have saved quite a few people a lot of time. Okay, was there a reason you stayed on that pic for 4 seconds? It was just 2 words. I know some slow readers, but even slow readers don't need 4 seconds to read 2 fucking words.
Second, you show supposed interviews of Akira Toriyama to strengthen your points, which is all well and good, but do you want to know what would make it even better? Citing your sources in the description. When you don't do that, it makes everything you are saying kind of questionable.
But excuse me, I thought screen capping evidence would have been enough to prove beyond a questionable doubt that my points are valid.
Maybe it would help if we were actually able to read the screen caps. Oh, and another thing, you can't say this commentary of yours is a one-shot when this is the second point you're trying to refute. Just saying.
Okay then, I set links in the description below. Satisfied?
Yes, because we're actually able to read them now. Also, if you did that in your original video, Michael wouldn't have had to complain about that. Just to let you know.
Third, I find it a bit funny that throughout this response commentary, you kept calling Tyler a DBZ tard. One could turn that against you because in all of your death battles that involve DBZ characters, they always win.
DBZ characters have won. So far, I'm planning to do more battles that intrigue my viewers. However, the DBZ characters that have won their fights would proven to most likely be the victor, for I had discussed these topics with many fans on both sides.
Oh my god. First off, I was really trying not to bring this up, but here there are so many fucking typos. You can apparently edit, but you can't fucking proofread? How do you miss so many typos? Do you not bother watching your videos before uploading them or something? Because you might want to start doing that and or have someone else watch the video beforehand so you can catch these problems before your video is uploaded and made public. Because someone will point out that kind of stuff to you in comments or in a video response of some kind. Second of all, you'll have to excuse me if I doubt your claims of having discussed this with fans on both sides. Care to show us screen caps of these discussions and actually make sure they're readable? There's also the fact that, as Michael said, the DBZ characters won every single time!
Oh, and your text in the opening where you claim to be in the logical corner reviewing the DBZ tard's logic? Yeah, that doesn't seem pretentious at all.
I was the first to comment upon my video, and I had explained why, in my opinion, what a tard was within any subject. And Tyler clearly matched this description, for on Skype he would swear up and down that he's Mr. Know-It-All and talk so much trash. Also, I have witnesses who would testify. However, why go that deep when I had debunked his claims?
It's called presenting proof. You can't just assume that your audience will automatically know what you're talking about in this case. Because what if someone comes across one of those videos and checks it out without having seen any of the others beforehand? Congratulations, you've just alienated new audience members.
4. I don't know how many times I have to say this to you since comments don't appear to work, and editing the entire ending of a death battle you yourself edited the ending of isn't getting through to you. For the love of God, download the video or videos you are using. There are many places where you can download YouTube videos in good quality for free. And the fact that you've been making videos for like, what, 10 months now? I'm sorry, but you have no excuse for recording videos off of your camera anymore. And it comes off as being incredibly lazy.
My PC got fried, and I've tried downloading good quality vids through iPad apps, but I've gotten no luck.
First off, even with your PC getting fried, you got it working again, or you got a different PC that's obviously working for you, so that's no excuse. Secondly, you do realize that there are other programs and sites that you can use to download YouTube videos, right? Fast Video Downloader, YTD, KeepVid, YouTubeDownloader.com, Clip Converter, Video Grabby, 6 other viable free options, most of which appeared on the first page of looking up YouTube Downloader on Google. Please, give me an excuse for that one. I'd love to hear what you come up with.
However, I get thousands of good comments from people who enjoyed watching my videos.
I'm sorry, thousands of good comments? Are you talking total throughout several videos? Because looking at your videos, I don't see a single video that has more than a few hundred comments. Even the video of yours that has the most views, the Hulk vs. Doomsday Death Battle that has over 91,000 views, has less than 550 comments on it. Are you getting your numbers by combining the number of comments on all of your videos? That's the only thing I can come up with to back those numbers up.
So if you have a problem with how my videos are constructed, well, that's your problem.
Oh, God fucking forbid someone actually expect to see good quality videos from you and not get background noise over the audio of the video you're discussing.
By the way, what you call lazy, I call improvising.
I named off 6 other programs you could use to download YouTube videos. I personally switch between YTV and KeepVid depending on the video I'm trying to download, and both work just fine. You have no fucking excuse not to download the videos you're responding to. So yes, it is lazy. You can cover your ass all you want, Thunder, but there's still a lot of shit you gotta wipe up.
And if the viewing audience had not noticed by now, none of my points made against Tyler's video were debunked nor refuted in any way.
Yes, your points were refuted. He may not have given evidence against you referring to an interview of Akira Toriyama in your video, but in that original video, shown through screen caps that Michael took himself and made sure were readable, by the way, you didn't cite your sources. Even in this video where you show screen caps, it's hard for us to take those screen caps as proof when we can't fucking read them. Even then, the burden of proof is still on you, because until you give good proof to back up your statements, Michael doesn't have to give you a goddamn thing, even though, again, he did. Maybe if you downloaded Michael's video instead of recording it with the camera, you'd seen the screen cap of the description of your original video and how you didn't seem to back up your points at all.
So, Michael, in my opinion, your commentary on me was a waste of both of our times.
Funny, considering how this commentary of yours wasted the time of everyone who watched it. Also, remember what I said earlier about how just leaving a comment on Michael's video would have saved everyone who watched your video a lot of time? Not only would it have done that, but it also would have prevented you from wasting your time in making this video in the first place. Nice job, Thunder.
And that, my friends, is how to do a proper one-shot.
I can't think of any commentator who would agree with you. The quality of the video that you recorded, not downloaded, was mediocre at best, and the point of a one-shot is to show only one argument and segment and refute that one argument and segment. Michael's video qualifies as a one-shot because despite having several things to say, he only showed one segment of the video and stated that his points applied to that one segment while happening to also apply to your video as a whole. This was not a one-shot, because you showed several segments of his commentary. In fact, you showed his entire commentary. Just because his commentary was a one-shot does not mean your commentary on that one-shot is also a one-shot. It doesn't work that way.
This is exactly what happens when a man with your brain capacity tries to take on people who are superior than you in every way possible.
First off, nice grammar there. Refer back to what I said about proofreading your videos. Second of all, yeah, this is exactly what happens. This commentary of yours only proves that Michael is superior to you. He owned you in this video while you were trying to commentate on his commentary. He doesn't even need to make a second video to prove that you're wrong. You did that all on your own. Bravo, good sir.
The fact that I have destroyed you multiple times now should not come as a shock.
I believe that's Michael's line, sir.
You do have the IQ of a pubic lice after all.
Okay, I would have said that you stole my line, but I was just gonna make a reference to a certain movie by saying that your IQ seems to be less than your shoe size. Nice switch there. Going by your failed refutations, Michael only proved his point further, and he didn't say anything to you after that one shot aside from talking to you in the comments of your commentary. Being able to prove his point twice over with just one video, that's quite the accomplishment, so yes, he actually did do something.
Oh, and one last thing. You're redoing Kirby vs. Majin Buu again? Really, dude? I won't deny that the death battle had flaws in it, but seriously, man, it's been nearly a year since that fight was made. Just let it die already.
I'm redoing Kirby vs. Buu because on my former channel, Roaring Thunder Project, I made a Kirby vs. Buu video a week after Screw Attack made their version, and I feel like doing it again. Why? 'Cause I can.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Dude, are you that starved for death battle material? Just ask people for ideas, requests, or help. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
It's just beyond this door.
What is?
My playroom.
Like your Xbox and stuff?
It's important that you know you can leave at any time.
Why? What's in there?
I meant what I said. The helicopter's on standby to take you whenever you want to go.
Couldn't you just open the door?
Dear lord, these two are so fucking wooden that I get the feeling actual planks of wood would have done a better job. Not that I can say it's their fault. I think this clip gives you a good taste of how poorly written the dialogue in this book is. Also, I think Mr. Dornan's accent is slipping.
The 50 Shades phenomenon. At the climax of those books' popularity, it was 2 books being sold every second in this series, for a total of more than 100 million sales. Unprecedented.
I'd make a crack about how the popularity of the 50 Shades trilogy hurt the sales of other good books, but I get the feeling there was very little market overlap. That said, it's still a goddamn shame that these women, and in some cases men, got sucked in and therefore didn't really bother taking the chance to read other books that were published in 2011 and 2012 that were genuinely good.
The trilogy has been controversial, derided by some as chick lit, but these are among the most successful works of literature of any kind of all time.
Okay, how many times does this kind of thing come up? So many fucking times stuff like this comes up where the only thing I can say in response is, hey, just because something is popular doesn't mean it's good. Seriously though, popularity doesn't equal quality. There can be a difference between books that are good and books we like. And not just books either. It can also apply to movies, TV shows, comics, web shows, video games, whatever. For example, I used to be a fan of the Southern Vampire Mysteries, also known as the Sookie Stackhouse novels by Charlaine Harris. They were far from the most well-written pieces I've read over the years, but I still enjoyed them, mainly because it presented a nice twist on vampire lore. I really can't say there was anything that made me lose interest suddenly. Granted, I read very few of the books. I just lost track of them at college and gradually stopped caring. As far as not liking well-written books, I found reading Wuthering Heights to be a chore. I can't deny that it was well-written and a great example of a gothic romance, but what killed it for me was that there wasn't a single character in that book that I liked. I can only assume that it was intentional, however, since it spends a lot of time going into why the relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine was unhealthy.
And now, it's looking to be a movie phenomenon, a red-hot debut projected for Valentine's Day weekend. Online box office site Fandango says it's already the fastest-selling R-rated film in the company's 15-year history.
I'm sorry, but I need to play this back. I love how there are some men in this crowd here and they all look extremely uncomfortable. One guy at least tries to smile for the camera, but you can tell it's forced. And the others don't even try to hide their discomfort. They're all like, "Dear God, get me out of here!"
This is all a big change for the woman behind the sensation. Turns out the Dom of S&M Publishing, a suburban British mother, in decades-long marriage. Erica Mitchell, the woman you might know as E.L. James, is with us now. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that you are not in front of the camera a lot, and I know that you've been crazed with publicity, so I really appreciate it. It's an important story to tell because it has changed the world of what people expect from books, and this particular subject has changed so much.
To the detriment of readers and people who will forever view BDSM as a crazy thing, thanks to E.L. James presenting an abusive relationship as romantic, not doing her research when it comes to BDSM, and portraying the BDSM culture as consisting of people who are fucked up in the head, and that they're only into BDSM because they were abused. Christian Grey describes himself as having been in an extended dom-sub relationship with a woman for 6 years from the time he was 15. Basically meaning he was raped and abused from the time he was 15 to the time he was 21. And because of that, he sees this bullshit and abuse he's perpetuating as totally okay. It is not okay for him to do it now, and it wasn't okay for him to have been subject to it when he was a teenager. Newsflash, age of consent exists for a goddamn reason. The point is that he wouldn't have been able to truly understand what that kind of relationship entailed. I looked ahead a bit, and before someone wants to use the argument of he may have been from a different country with different age of consent laws, Christian Grey is American. Based on what I looked into, he never even left the US, and the lowest age of consent found in some of the states is 16. Given that he was born in Michigan but his adoptive family moved to Washington during his childhood, I looked up the age of consent for Washington. Age of consent is 16 there, and if someone who's at least 14 but younger than 16 has sex with someone who's at least 4 years older than the minor in question, the older party is guilty of third-degree rape, which is a Class C felony in that state, which means the maximum punishment that can be given for that crime in Washington is 5 years imprisonment and or a $10,000 fine. And guess what? She was never even charged. Let's just get back to the video.
But I want to talk to you about who Erica was before the 50 Shades phenomenon.
Erica was a very happy old woman working in television. So she's very uncomfortable being in front of the camera because she's much, much happier being behind it. And much more used to being behind it.
Then why are you agreeing to do all these interviews? I'm not even trying to be mean here. This is an honest question. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, stopping E.L. James from declining to be interviewed. There are plenty of writers and other artists out there who have created works that are famous all around the world, yet refuse to be interviewed. One example of such a popular author who refuses to be interviewed is Thomas Harris, author of Red Dragon, The Silence of the Lambs, and such. He hasn't given an interview since 1976, and I feel the need to mention that's from before he even wrote Red Dragon. His first novel was Black Sunday, which was written in 1975, and has nothing to do with the character of Hannibal Lecter. I can imagine that the popularity of the Hannibal Lecter series makes him want to stay away from the limelight, and there is nothing wrong with that. Some people are very private and just don't like the spotlight. There is nothing stopping E.L. James from refusing to be interviewed, so I'm honestly confused about why she's willing to spend so much time in the public eye if she's uncomfortable with it. I thought of two possibilities. One, she's trying to step out of her comfort zone. If that's the case, then I can actually applaud her for doing so. Or two, she secretly loves the attention but doesn't want to come off as an attention whore. I'm going to withhold my judgment and give her the benefit of the doubt because despite how I presented myself in my last commentary on an interview of hers, I don't want to hate her.
Well, I respect that. You told me when we first met the story of how this idea came to you, and it was somewhat unexpected.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it was, I wrote, this was originally written as Twilight fan fiction. I saw the film.
Practically everyone at this point has talked about this, so I really have nothing to add here. Skip.
More than 100 million copies sold, a dinner table conversation in every home around America for a time. How has it changed your life to be that prominent?
Well, I try not to be, which is why I don't like to be in front of the camera. I like my anonymity. I like to be able to walk down the street and nobody know that I'm there.
Yet she agreed to do this interview and even let her real name get out there. She must not be trying very hard. You know, I really wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, but honestly, she's just giving out more evidence that deep down, she really wants and loves that attention. She just goes into more detail about how she supposedly values her anonymity and describes how she's done more traveling since the books took off. Skip!
Now, there are people who say this isn't even literature. You know, when I tweeted about this segment, there were people chiming in saying, oh, how could you? It's so lowbrow. And yet, it has been transformative. It has essentially proved that there can be this kind of massive scale literary work at this point. Are you proud of the books?
I think, yes, of course. I mean, I wrote them for myself, essentially. So I only had me to please, and I did. I think what's been extraordinary is that other women have picked them up and really adore them.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you were writing it just for you, then what reason did you have to try and publish your work? I've got a novel I want to work on. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't writing it for me, but I'm not writing it just for me. I believe that there are plenty of people out there who would appreciate my work. I write with the goal of entertaining people, not just me. That's why I want my work to be the absolute best it can be, because as a writer, nothing hurts worse than making readers of any of my work feel like I just wasted their time.
And it's brought women to reading. Only yesterday I got an email from a woman who was 47 who said she hadn't picked up a book since school, and she just read all 3, and that was amazing, absolutely amazing. So to do that, and I've had lots and lots and lots of those emails, has been really, it's been just awesome.
Implying that there weren't any women reading before they found and picked up 50 Shades of Grey. I'm a woman who's read plenty of good books, and I know plenty of other women who are also avid readers. And guess what? They're avoiding your books like the goddamned plague. I should be avoiding your books like the plague, but instead I'm infecting myself with this shit. I could be reading any other book, but no. I felt the need to read this book just so I wouldn't be left in the dark when other people complained about it, and also so I could rant about this book if I wanted to and actually know what I was talking about. Newsflash, Mrs. James, you're not some fucking messiah who's given the demographic of women readers a much-needed kickstart. We didn't need a fucking jumper cable. We were always here reading. If anything, you've kickstarted women into reading other books that have nothing to do with abusive relationships being glorified and romanticized. Congratulations! I hope you're proud of yourself, because now that your books have been out for a few years, people are going to look at this abuse and think that it's okay. I'd go more into this, but we'll get to that later. We'll definitely be getting to that later.
And yet, the counterpoint to that is there are those who say that because of the content of this book, it maybe even glorifies the abuse of women. There are some hashtags trending on that front. People on social media trending the hashtag 50 Shades of Abuse, $50, not 50 Shades. That's a campaign telling people to donate to stop violence against women instead of going to see the film.
I'm all for stopping violence against women.
Yet you wrote a book romanticizing an abusive relationship. Oh, but don't look at me. I've got evidence in the form of a study found in a fairly recent volume of the Journal of Women's Health. The study did have its limitations, namely it was a cross-sectional study involving the administration of a one-time-only survey and had no time-specific data about when the subject's reading of at least the first book in the series occurred relative to the health risks measured. Those health risks and warning signs consisting of violence victimization, including physical, sexual, and psychological abuse, and even cyber abuse, binge drinking, having sex with 5 or more intercourse partners during their lifetime, and signs of an eating disorder. However, despite the fact that correlation does not equal causation, it shows that there is some sort of relationship there and it's worth looking into further. Finally, even the study talks about why the relationship between Christian and Anna is abusive. Namely, Christian employs strategies typical of abusers, including stalking, he deliberately follows Anna and uses a phone and computer to track her whereabouts, intimidation, he threatens her with punishment and violence, including pressuring her into activities she is uncomfortable with, social isolation, he isolates her from friends and family, and sexual violence, he uses alcohol to impair her consent and intimidates and pressures her into uncomfortable sexual activities. In response, Anna experiences reactions typical of abused women, including constant perceived threat, for example that Christian is trying to track her down, is angry with her and will punish and harm her, altered identity, Anna describes herself as a pale haunted ghost, stressful managing, Anna engages in behaviors to keep peace in the relationship such as withholding information about her whereabouts to avoid Christian's anger, yearning for health and normalcy in the relationship, and disempowerment and entrapment as her behaviors become mechanized in response to Christian's abuse. It even talks about how Twilight normalizes abuse. Twilight started it, 50 Shades is just adding to the problem.
This is essentially a passionate love story. I think if it was a book about abuse, then women wouldn't be reading it, women wouldn't be loving it. They recognise what it is about it.
Except that if it was a well-written book about an abusive relationship, and it portrayed it as the awful thing it really is, then people, regardless of gender, would read it. Case in point, Wuthering Heights. I didn't like it because there were no likable characters in my opinion, but I still appreciate it for what it is, and there are plenty of people who like the book because it portrays an unhealthy and abusive relationship and pulls out all the stops to let everyone know that this shit is not okay.
About the story that appeals to them. It's a very broken man, a very strong young woman who brings him out of himself and turns him round. So that's what the books are about, and not about abuse at all.
Except the woman shouldn't have to give herself up completely in order to do that. Sometimes there are things that are broken beyond repair. The moment Christian raped her in Chapter 12 is the moment she should have given up and gone to the police.
And it does strike me, you know, you told me when we first met, don't read them. But I was, of course, going through them before.
It's about men. I get very uncomfortable about it.
When men read it. Well, tell me about that. Why does it make you uncomfortable when women read it?
It's written for me. I'm a woman. It's great that other women read it. And the range goes from a little bit too young right up until they're into 95 years old. And that's great, but it's not written for men. It's a book for women. It's a fantasy for women.
Implying that guys can't enjoy stuff made for women and that women can't enjoy stuff made for men. Wait to be a revolutionary in your writing, you fucking bint.
That's it.
So I butted in nevertheless, and I was struck by one thing, which is how traditional the core story here is.
Absolutely.
That
it's Beauty and
the
the Beast.
protagonist is a virgin even. It's conservative in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
She falls in love with the man that is the love of her life, and I won't spoil the conclusion, but it's very domestic in nature.
Dude, the fact that this whole thing involves a bastardization of BDSM and the fact that Anna actually graduates college shows to me that you have no clue what the fuck you're talking about. At least Anna graduated college, which is more than I could say of Bella Swan.
Was that traditionalism a deliberate goal?
I think it's a trope of all this romance novels. I mean, at its heart, it's a romance novel, and my early 30s was spent on the tube reading a lot of romance novels. Joanna Lindsay, Catherine Coulter, Brenda Joyce, all of Elizabeth Lau. God, I could go on and on and on and on.
Allow me to just replay a clip of what I said earlier. Wait to be a revolutionary in your writing, you fucking bint. Next!
And yet there is the traditional magnet for controversy here, which is the treatment of women and the tension between your saying this is about women, it's for women, it empowers women.
Yes.
And yet, you know, for instance, we went out for questions on Facebook. Holly Renee wrote in and she said, how can you release a novel that so many people have read and which is now going to be a huge box office success that blatantly disregards the act of enthusiastic consent? Do you disagree with that characterization?
I completely disagree with that. There is enthusiastic consent throughout. It obviously shows that she hasn't read the book.
Allow me, then, to read a bit from Chapter 12 of the book, which I have called the rape chapter many times. To give context, this is after Anna sent an email, a joking email, saying it was nice knowing him after he gave her things to look up regarding BDSM. He responds by breaking into her duplex apartment. I'll only read certain excerpts since they're spread out over a couple of pages, and I highly doubt anyone wants to hear me read that much from the book. The first part starts at the bottom of page 135 to the top of page 136 of my PDF copy. I needed time to think, I whisper. I'm all rabbit in the headlights, moth in the flame, bird to a snake, and he knows exactly what he's doing to me. Think about what, Anastasia? You? And you decided that it was nice knowing me. Do you mean knowing me in the biblical sense? Oh shit. I flush. I didn't think you were familiar with the Bible. I went to Sunday school, Anastasia. It taught me a great deal. I don't remember reading about nipple clamps in the Bible. Perhaps you were taught from a modern translation. His lips arch with a trace of a smile, and my eyes are drawn to his beautiful sculptured mouth. Well, I thought I should come and remind you how nice it was knowing me. Next is from the bottom of page 136. He reaches down, and from his pants pocket he takes out his silver gray silk tie. That silver gray woven tie that leaves small impressions of its weave on my skin. He moves so quickly, sitting astride me as he fastens my wrists together, but this time he ties the other end of the tie to one of the spokes of my white iron headboard. He pulls in my binding, checking it secure. I'm not going anywhere. I'm tied literally to my bed, and I am so aroused. He slides off me and stands beside the bed, staring down at me, his eyes dark with want. His look is triumphant, mixed with relief. That's better, he murmurs, and smiles a wicked, knowing smile. He bends and starts undoing one of my sneakers. Oh no, my feet. No, I've just been running. No, I protest, trying to kick him off. He stops. If you struggle, I'll tie your feet too. If you make a noise, Anastasia, I will gag you. Keep quiet. Catherine's probably outside listening to him right now. Gag me? Kate! I shut up. Oh, and starting on page 137, Christian has Anna drink white wine to impair her ability to consent or refuse. Are you trying to tell us, Mrs. James, that Anna gave enthusiastic consent in this section? Sounds to me like she was trying to fight him off and only relented thanks to the alcohol. Therefore, the only conclusion I can reach, along with some friends that I read this entire chapter to, along with TV tropes, is that Christian raped Anna in this chapter. You're the one saying that this book empowers women when it portrays abuse and rape as something romantic. Kiss my ass.
So there is enthusiasm.
And it is true, there are a lot of people who talk about this.
Yes, I know, and they haven't read it. So there is enthusiasm. It's Anna is enthusiastic. Trust me.
I am reading the book, motherfucker, and unlike my last commentary on another one of your interviews, I actually read portions from one of the chapters and gave evidence to back me up. As far as I'm concerned, you have given me no reason to trust in any of your arguments.
So, it's whenever anyone says that, I know, oh, you haven't read the book.
What was your biggest concern in bringing this to the screen when you sold the rights to the book?
I think my biggest concern was doing the sex. I didn't want it to be trashy and nasty and all of that kind of stuff.
Too late!
So that was I think my biggest concern.
The hype machine is in full swing now. Are you happy with how the movie turned out?
Yes, I am. It took us a long time to get there, but I think because there's such a passionate fandom behind it, I wanted to honour them, and this grew out of fandom, so I absolutely understand what it's like to be part of that.
Projection! Seriously though, I doubt her level of input in the film had anything to do with the fans.
And I wanted them to be as enthusiastic about the film as they are about the book, and that was really important to me.
You talked about what a long, hard road it was to get here. It's challenging for any author to see their vision brought to the screen.
Yes.
It seems like with J.K. Rowling and with yourself, in these rare cases of extraordinary leverage and power in the hands of the author, there's a new paradigm of just ensuring in the contract that you have creative control.
I can agree that it's good for the author to have some level of creative control in an adaptation of their work. It's something that can help keep the adaptation from becoming a bastardization. However, there has to be a limit. I'll elaborate on that in a bit.
I think I was lucky in a sense that because everybody all of the studios wanted the book, bar Disney, so I was lucky to be able to insert myself as a producer and actually use, as a producer, be involved in the whole process.
And how hard was it to fight that fight? How hard did you have to push?
I had to push pretty hard on certain things, yes.
There have been reports that, it was very confrontational on set, etc.
Well, that's wrong. It wasn't. So it's just the media making a story.
And here's where I get back to the mention of how there needs to be a limit to an author's creative control in an adaptation of their work. Read that headline. She can say all she wants about how the media just generated the story, but of course she's gonna say that when they're trying to tarnish her name. The damage has already been done, lady. Some people are going to take this at face value and assume that you're gonna threaten to boycott the film just over some goddamn dialogue. When your dialogue is written like this?
It's just beyond this door.
What is?
My playroom.
Like your Xbox and stuff?
It's important that you know you can leave at any time.
Then maybe you should listen to their feedback.
So no, it was hard in places, but you have several creative individuals in a room. Of course, the people are going to butt heads.
Implying that two writers can't come to a compromise or agree on something at the very beginning, which is complete bullshit. But go on.
And that's exactly what happened. But it's great that what we ended up with is what the fans will be pleased with.
Projection, projection, projection.
Sorry, hero. What, would you rather I just play back my projection clip again?
Now, one of the striking things about how the movie is being received is the Bible Belt is very, very excited. Some conservative communities really going after this. Ticket sales in Mississippi nearly 4 times what's expected, according to Fandango. What has 50 Shades taught us about tastes here in America?
That Twilight has molded and damaged so many young girls into thinking that abuse and stalking are a-okay, and that apparently physical and sexual abuse is just the next logical step and something you just have to deal with.
Women love a good love story.
Keep deluding yourself into thinking you made a good love story, lady. Twilight has damaged so many young girls through molding them into thinking that abuse is okay, and 50 Shades of Grey is just making it worse for those young girls who have grown up by the time 50 Shades was published. They go from, oh, he only tore the engine out of my car to protect me, to, oh, rape is sexy.
Yeah, and this is that.
Yes.
So on that front, I'll close with another question from social media. Can you see it with your mother? That's what one fan asked.
Yes, I could. Yes,
all right.
I would do it with my mum.
Wow, you have no shame at all, do you?
E.L. James, it's a real pleasure every time, and despite the alleged camera fear, you are extremely eloquent on this subject.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and good luck with the premiere of the movie. And of course, a disclaimer, 50 Shades of Grey, product of Focus Features. It's also being distributed by NBC Universal. That's our parent company here at MSNBC, but this is a story that actually personally interested me.
Of all the things to report on, of all the fucking things to devote your broadcasting time to, you decided it was best to take the time to interview E.L. James to hype up the 50 Shades of Grey movie. Are you fucking serious, mate? Was it really that slow of a news day? I'll give you your answer right now. No, it fucking wasn't! You could have reported on ISIS and the hostage situation. You could have reported on the trouble in Damascus. You could have reported on the measles outbreak. You could have talked about the rebels in Ukraine. You could have even talked about the apparent murder-suicide at the University of South Carolina. To put it in perspective, this interview happened February 6th, a week ago at the time of this recording. A lot of shit went down. Farrow had so much other shit he could have talked about during his show, but he decided to devote his time to interviewing a hack writer. Way to show off your journalistic priorities, you fucking jackass!
Hello guys, Teddy Bear here. Today I will make some sort of small rant video about those guys that play Five Nights at Freddy's for the popularity and afterwards trash talk about it.
Because playing a bad game to riff on it is totally an alien topic.
Ah, yes. The fanboy in its natural habitat. A nice break away from theorists, if I do say so myself.
I'm going to be talking today about the honest trailer of Smosh games. And I think it's okay to criticize a game. It's okay to say that it's bad, as long as you reason it. However, I saw the honest Five Nights at Freddy's 3 trailer, and I have to say, these guys are just disgusting and they're really trash. I mean, just the way they talked about the game.
First of all, you say it's okay to criticize the game as long as they give good reasons. Say what you will about Smosh themselves, but as far as I'm concerned, they hit the nail on the head as far as Five Nights at Freddy's 3 goes. Hell, they hit the nail on the head as far as the entire series goes. I don't want to get into too much detail regarding my problems with the series, especially given how I haven't played the games for myself, but I've seen Markiplier's Let's Plays of the games, and the complaints in all of the Honest Game Trailers videos on the Five Nights at Freddy's games seem pretty sound for the most part. Second of all, I want to make a counter for this. Every time TeddyBear87 calls Smosh games trash, disgusting, or pathetic, take a drink. By the way, since he just used 2 out of the 3, we're starting with a double. Bottoms up, bitches!
Gale pretty much hit the nail on the head with this. But in my case, your behavior so far is very poor, if not embarrassing. I mean, let's forget the fact that Smosh we're talking about here. You're getting butthurt over a parody trailer. I mean, next you'll tell me you got mad at how to make Five Nights at Freddy's not scary because it ruined the integrity of the series. Even as a fan of the first 2 games, I could say that the series isn't perfect.
And, first they're trash talking about the franchise, and afterwards they say like, oh well, we're making a living out of Five Nights at Freddy's games, but in order to sympathize with the majority, we're gonna talk shit about the game. Why not?
So, making a series of videos of the people of Smosh games playing through the Five Nights at Freddy's games and making Honest Game Trailers videos on the series equals making a living off Five Nights at Freddy's? Last I checked, their videos involving Five Nights at Freddy's only make up a very, 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 very small amount of the videos on the Smosh Games channel. How is that making a living off Five Nights at Freddy's? That would only apply if all or most of their videos are related to those games, which they clearly aren't, so I don't know where the hell you're getting this from.
I think these guys are just so disgusting and pathetic.
Is disgusting and pathetic the only insults you know of? Does your vocabulary not extend further than that in terms of insults? Also, think to yourself, what if they just didn't like the game or series? I mean, good God, you're treating this like someone stole your bike. There's people that don't like certain things. Get over it.
I found it very funny that in the beginning of the video it says, brutal honesty, mature humor, and strong satirical content, while the only thing they actually did was insult it as crap or called it stupid.
Satire. Noun. The use of irony, sarcasm, ridicule, or the like, in exposing, denouncing, or deriding vice, folly, etc. All of the Honest Game Trailers videos on Five Nights at Freddy's ridicule the games, so yes, it technically does count as satirical humor despite your claims to the contrary.
I would have enjoyed it if it had any decent satire, but it's plain insulting. This is just so disrespectful towards Cawthon's thought work that he puts in as a single person.
Okay then. Since you went there, I'll admit that I have to give credit where credit is due. As much as I don't like Five Nights at Freddy's, I do have to give Scott Cawthon props since he made all 3 games by himself in less than a year. However, the games also illustrate why having a partner, or even better, a team, working on these kinds of games is a good idea. When you do everything for this kind of project by yourself, there's bound to be at least one aspect of the project that suffers as a result. Cawthon could only do so much, so we got a horror game where most of the horror comes from jump scares and a bare-bones story that could have been so much better than what we actually got.
Disrespectful? I don't really think Cawthon cares about this parody, this one parody, might I add, that a group of people put together. And even though Cawthon was the only one that worked on it, that doesn't mean he should be shielded from criticism. But with how you seem to put this series on such a high pedestal, it wouldn't surprise me if you're blinded by fanboyism.
You guys can compare these games with games that developers bring out, and still the game is better than most horror games.
Wow, really? You're really going to go so far as to say that Five Nights at Freddy's is better than games like Silent Hill or Eternal Darkness? It'd be one thing if you specified that the series is better than most indie horror games or something like that, but you didn't. So I can only assume that you really did mean to say that this game is better than even many of the big-name horror titles. If that wasn't what you were trying to say, then your poor word choice really fucked up your argument.
It comes really close in my opinion to Amnesia and Outlast, some of my favorite horror games.
You really are a lost cause. To say that Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is better than most horror games, and even coming close to something like Amnesia. No. No. I don't care if it's an opinion or not. I'm not gonna sit here and... So, Fatal Frames 1 and 2 can't compete with your oh-so-glorious Five Nights at Freddy's, even though they've got better atmosphere, plot, and scares. I'm Scared, and other pixel horror games can't compete, even though they've got better presentation and concept. Dream of the Blood Moon and SCP Containment Breach can't compete. Even without them being free, they are miles ahead of Five Nights at Freddy's. Let me tell you something. I would easily choose any of those games over Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Because the third game is easily the weakest. Compared to the other two, it's trash. Trash. I'd rather play Five Nights at Fuckboys over that. But of course, what am I saying? I just haven't played enough. I don't know what I'm talking about. I need an aspirin.
Yeah, I just think that this is so pathetic, guys. They even made a mistake while making the video. They say in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 there are fewer enemies, which is incorrect. There are actually more enemies than there were in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Professional research right there, guys.
But only one kills you, though. The rest are bloody hallucinations. How do you mess that up?
Yeah, but they're technically trying to stop you.
Nobody cares, Eggplant Wizard!
Well then. Anyway, yes. It's highly debatable whether or not you can even count the other animatronics like Freddy, Chica, and Foxy, precisely because they're hallucinations. The only animatronic that ever kills you is Springtrap. If you're going to claim that Smosh Games did very little research, then I can just as easily claim that you didn't pay as much attention while playing the game as you thought you did.
I also find it funny that they added Smike as one of those that overreacts as jump scares. I really think that his jump scares are not fake.
Joke. Something said or done to provoke laughter, especially a brief oral narrative with a climactic humorous twist. Or the humorous or ridiculous element in something, an instance of jesting or kidding. Do you get it? It's supposed to be a joke! And even then, the jump scares lose their luster after the second night. They come too frequently compared to the last two. But hey, apparently this game was as good as Amnesia.
Continuing from Ifrit's point, I'm certain that at least some of those people were overreacting. I haven't played the game, so it might be different when you're actually playing the games, given how you're multitasking, but when I was watching Markiplier's Let's Plays, it didn't take long before he stopped reacting to the jump scares altogether. After a while, the only times I reacted to them were when I wasn't paying attention.
So, to conclude this video, the view that these guys made is just, you know...
What will he say about the video? Will it be A, disgusting, B, trash, C, insulting, or D, it's like Al Roker having sex with a Chinese midget dressed as Betty White? Text your votes now!
All of the above! Wait, what was that last one?
Plain insulting.
Congratulations! You just completed great quiz! Now go rest our heroes!
And it has nothing to do with, you know, satire or, you know, humor.
Stopping you right there. Satire. Noun. The use of irony, sarcasm, ridicule, or delight in exposing, denouncing, or deriding vice, folly, etc. Okay, continue.
Or being honest, it's just plain insulting and, well, they don't even care anymore. They have 5 million subs, which is just...
Okay, did anyone else understand that? Because that just sounded like a bunch of gibberish on my end.
All I could get out of that was how they don't care about satire, humor, or honesty because they've gotten over 5 million subscribers, which leads me to assume that he's bitching about how Smosh Games has so many subs when they make this disgusting trash.
No, guys, if I turn big one day, I don't want to become trash like those people are, you know. Those people are really trash, and I haven't seen such a pathetic thing for a long time.
Hey, if that's what counts as pathetic, then I'd gladly take that over stuff like furries doing PowerPoint presentations over the fandom, and the pages, among pages of Tumblr SJWs, trying to remove fun from the internet and getting mad at the smallest of things. Your comment just set the bar of pathetic acts extremely low.
I know that people actually like to insult games or people on the internet at YouTube because it really, you know, is polarizing. And if you insult something in the internet, you get a reaction of it, and this is what the people want. They want you to, you know, get reactions, and that will help them to grow.
You do realize that what you just said showed how their videos do count as satire, right? Biting humor and thriving from both positive and negative reception is exactly how satire works.
So, thanks guys for watching. Tell me your comments about the Honest game trailer. I will leave it in the description so you guys can watch it.
Ignoring the fact that you didn't even link the video, your comments in the comments section aren't really helping your case either. The fact that you were insulted by this shows how you can't take someone else's opinion about certain topics. And I don't know what's worse, your behavior or how people actually agree with this.
And yeah, I found it really disrespectful, and I really wonder what you guys will say about this, because as a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I just can't watch them, you know, say bullshit like that. I mean, at one point the guy even says Five Nights at Freddy's 3 sucks without no explanation or whatever.
Never mind the fact that they actually spent quite a bit of time explaining the problems with the game, such as nothing being explained in-game, the gameplay being the same as the last 2 games, and the absolutely convoluted trail of bullshit you had to go through to get the good ending.
The mind of a fanboy is a complicated one. Again, this just proves how easily insulted you are at broad statements. They explain well enough the problems with the game, such as how it's just a simple game of hide and seek, how the minigame sections are damn near impossible to get to, and how the game basically loses its charm quick. But that's just the haters talking. No, they can't have actual opposing opinions. Everyone must like it.
And they call that satire. That's no fucking satire. That's just fucking insulting.
Ugh. Satire. Noun. The use of irony, sarcasm, ridicule, or delight in exposing Fuck! You broke the clip! Now I know how Rhino felt in his commentary on me when I broke his joke definition clip. I mean, I should be able to fix it, but wow. Anyway, all that's left is his outro, so with all that out of the way, let's give our final thoughts. This guy obviously has no grasp on what satire really is, and despite his claim in the beginning about how he doesn't mind people complaining about the game, provided they give good reasons for their complaints, he spends a lot of time bitching about how Smosh Games made fun of the game, despite the fact that they actually discussed aspects of the game which are a problem. So why exactly did Teddy Bear 87 complain again? Oh, that's right, it's because he's a whiny fan brat who's completely in denial about being a whiny fan brat.
This guy is the perfect example of a blind fanboy. He is easily offended by a video that was complete satire and put this series at high standards it doesn't deserve to be on. As a fan of the series, I can sit here and say that even with its good points, I would not call this one of the best horror games of all time. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 felt like it wasn't needed, and with what story it still needs to conclude, the game shouldn't feel that way. And yet this guy thinks it's better than the majority of horror games. If this has taught me one thing, it's that fan brats will never change.
Oh, God! Ooh, fuck. We haven't even started the video and I'm already coming up for air. Look how stupid this image is. We've got emo Ash Ketchum with a fucking Illuminati hat. I didn't even know they had a merchandising deal. An ironically ungodly fusion of Pikachu and Bill Cipher, sporting an incredibly unsightly skin tag above the eye. And on the screen of a smartphone that looks even cheaper than my clapped-out 7-year-old slider, there's a Gengar sporting what I can only assume is a layer of Coral Blue No. 2 semi-gloss lipstick.
Actually, it's Coral Blue No. 2.
And it's all on a generic hypno-swirly background. It's so painfully, surreally terrible that I almost want to call it a Dadaist masterpiece.
This cannot be Dada! It's too normal to be Dada! It's too shit to be anything else!
Yeah, okay, he's got a point. Honestly, if your title card artist isn't you, you should probably fire him. Then again, if it is you, I've always wondered what it would look like if somebody fired themselves.
Alright, hey everyone, it's TVC Mario, and you're here for another edition of Satanic Illuminati Media Exposed.
AKA Dan Brown, the series.
In today's video, I wanted to go ahead and start my video series exposing the new Pokemon Go video game. This game is so popular, there are millions and millions of people who are just flocking to download the app and start playing the game.
Oh, rub it in, why don't you?
Now, I wanted to go ahead and warn everyone that this is, in fact, an agenda to mind control the masses to prepare them for the augmented transhumanist reality. The coming Illuminati matrix that's going to be created and is going to plug people into it, literally.
You serious?
Oh look, yet another fucker who doesn't know what literally means. Or rather, what it's supposed to mean. Good God, I fucking hate how we've broken the word over the past 100 or so years.
By the end of this video here today, you're going to see that there is a sinister agenda behind this game. There are many, in fact, and that's why I'm going to do several videos. But today, I wanted to specifically focus in on the augmented reality transhumanist agenda of the Pokemon Go video game.
Oh my God, he's serious. Okay, so I'm just gonna play like I'm a psychic type here for a second and make us a little premonition. How much you guys want to bet TVC has no idea what the differences between augmented reality and virtual reality are? Hell, double or nothing. He thinks The Matrix is a documentary. Any takers? Anyone? Ah, damn it. Looks like I'm going home none the richer. Y'all know we don't monetize these videos, right?
So, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is the agenda to become a transhuman. I've talked about this on this YouTube channel repeatedly. For those of you who don't know, there's a movement out there called the transhumanist movement. And the Illuminati, these secret societies that run our world, are transhumanist.
Okay, I would wait until he explains his stuff, but I'm gonna say right now that he does such a shitty job explaining what transhumanism really is that I guess I'll have to do it for him. Transhumanism is an intellectual movement that aims to transform the human condition by developing and creating widely available sophisticated technologies to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities. Transhumanist thinkers study the potential benefits and dangers of emerging technologies that could overcome fundamental human limitations, as well as the ethics of using such technologies. Now, TVC using transhuman probably wasn't right. I personally think posthuman is more accurate. I also call your use of movement into question. The Wikipedia bit I posted also uses movement, but it uses it as part of intellectual movement. You make it sound like there are people out there who want to start this big revolution to make people transhuman or posthuman or metahuman or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Intellectual movement, however, implies that it's part of a philosophy focusing on the ethics and science behind the possible technology of all this. While I don't consider myself a transhumanist in any way, because I personally think the risks of such technology would outweigh the benefits, I can understand why transhumanism as a philosophy and intellectual movement exists. And the fact that you're being so fucking narrow-minded about this just shows that you're, quite frankly, intellectually stunted, if not intellectually dishonest. How very Christian of you.
I'm sorry, but speaking as someone who occasionally flirts with transhumanist philosophy, and it is a philosophical school of thought, not some kind of active socio-political movement, I can't even hear the word without immediately thinking, I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. You've ruined me, Tumblr!
They believe that through technology and mutating their DNA, they are going to achieve divine godhood.
That's immortality that's the ultimate goal of some of these transhumanists, not divine godhood. And even then, that's only a small fraction that want immortality. You know why so many transhumanists don't want immortality? Because they're afraid that they'd end up overpopulating the Earth if they end up immortal. Or even more simply, they'd get fucking bored!
To become immortal men here on Earth.
Oh, so you do bring up immortality. Here's the problem, though. Immortality is not the same thing as omnipotence nor omniscience. You of all people should know this given how you believe in an immortal, omnipotent, and omniscient God.
This is a great deception, and in fact, the only way to eternal life is by Jesus Christ.
Unless, of course, you believe in another religion that believes in eternal life after death. Way to be sensitive to other people's religious beliefs there, asshole.
This is Satan's counterfeit. Satan wants to counterfeit God, so he wants to promise
that audio flub editing, though.
Humanity a salvation, but it'll never happen. It's a deception. But in the world today, we have fallen human beings who are deceived into thinking that they will become cybernetic gods of a golden age in the future. Now, part of the agenda to create this augmented reality for these cybernetic illuminists is to create a augmented reality, a sort of matrix, so that the world that we have right now is actually no longer in existence.
Aha! See, this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of the matter, and this is something really near and dear to me, being a massive sci-fi geek and an obsessive gamer on top of that. What TVC is describing here is a virtual reality, not an augmented reality. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of our audience are of a similar mind to my own and know what these two things are, but just in case someone stumbles across this video and isn't familiar with VR/AR terminology, let me take a second to break it all down for you. TVC's description of the transhumanist agenda sounds like a direct ripoff of The Matrix, which is pretty much one of the best modern examples of virtual reality in science fiction. Virtual reality is a technology that gives users the sensation of being in a world that is not our own by blocking out real-world sensory input and replacing it with artificial sensory stimulation. This sort of technology isn't nearly as immersive in real life as it is in The Matrix or Tron or even Digimon, God help you, but it's been around in one form or another for decades. Ever been to an arcade that had a racing game with a moving cockpit? That's an early form of VR. Mission Space at Disney World's Epcot is an even more immersive VR experience in the same vein. And, of course, we can't overlook the home version. The Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive have become veritable darlings for bringing the immersion of VR into gamers' day-to-day lives. Pokemon Go is not virtual reality. It's augmented reality. Augmented reality is any technology that overlays additional sensory input over the input you're already receiving from the world around you. It's actually relatively new technology compared to full-on VR, with the earliest examples I'm aware of manifesting courtesy of Nintendo's DSi and 3DS systems. AR cards, face raiders. But it's become fairly common in cell phone apps like Pokemon Go. Anyone with half a brain could tell you they're completely different technologies, and it's worth noting that neither technology is even close to the idea of plugging into the Matrix, leaving your body behind and experiencing the world entirely digitally. That's just not feasible with our current technological know-how, and neither Satan nor Pikachu has the power to change that!
It is basically replaced with a fantasy cybernetic false matrix. And the Pokemon Go game introduces this concept with augmented reality. Augmented reality is something I've been talking about, and I'm going to continue to expose as part of the transhumanist agenda. They literally want to plug us into the Matrix.
Wait, didn't he just say all this shit? I think his programming is caught in a logic loop or something.
Oh my god, the Matrix, guys, is clearly a Cylon or some shit.
Sigma, Cylons are Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, please. These guys can't even figure out how logic works. Do you really think they care about fictional continuity?
There is going to be a reality that soon will be only seen through cybernetic eyes.
He says while hovering his cursor over AR goggles.
You're going to need augmented technology in order to access it.
But it's not a virtual reality, is it?
And I need to warn you, at some point, we are going to have to break away from the technology.
Or you could, I don't know, just not buy the tech you don't want? Nobody's forcing you to buy Pokemon Go. Hell, nobody's forcing you to buy a smartphone, much to my unending chagrin. My point is, if you don't want to use augmented reality tech for one reason or another, nobody's making you. The technology hasn't reached a point where society needs it to function, and in all likelihood it never will. Much as the internet hasn't stopped people from meeting IRL, something Wendy and I have actually done, then you can bet that there will be times when people put down the Google Glass and go for a walk in the woods like the ones your youth group leader used to take you on. Alone. Just fly unzipped.
And most humans won't. You know, you see the stuff like Pokemon Go and they're like, yeah, this is so cool, man. Let me just jump into the transhumanist reality matrix without even thinking about this.
I'm someone who doesn't even have a smartphone. I don't give a shit about not having access to Pokemon Go. I really don't. I personally think the hype about Pokemon Go has been blown way out of proportion, especially since about half of the people playing Pokemon Go never even gave a shit about Pokemon before now. Not to mention the game has inadvertently caused some stupid shit to happen. That being said, I can't deny that Pokemon Go is doing some good things for people. It's getting people to actually go outside and socialize and exercise. It's doing good things for people, yet here you are saying it's part of some conspiracy agenda. Are you fucking kidding me?
You know, it's going to be literally presented as the most awesome thing. Think about it. Most people flock to go get their iPhone 6. So when the augmented transhumanist matrix is created and people can come and play video games and do things like this, trust me, they're going to flock to it. And they already are with this ridiculous video game.
The game is not a virtual reality simulation. Good lord.
Okay, so we need to be on guard and vigilant. This is a very sinister agenda by twisted people. Here you see on Time magazine, they believe that by the year 2045, they're going to be able to plug into this cybernetic augmented reality, this matrix that's been created, and become immortal.
Yeah, and 15 years ago, there were people who thought we'd have time machines by 2009. What's your point?
Oh, please. Time magazine hasn't been culturally relevant in upwards of a decade now. It's basically just another sensationalist birdcage liner that's less concerned with actual news than it is with the vapid, outdated opinions of its own resident stock of talking heads. I'd say you're better off getting information from the National Enquirer at this point, but, well, something tells me you already do.
And in fact, they showed us in movies that this was their agendas. One of the things about Hollywood is they're not just creating entertainment movies, okay guys? The movies are specifically created as predictive programming, showing us things before they occur.
Do you not understand the concept of speculative fiction? Sci-fi falls under that umbrella. Of course various science fiction stories are going to make predictions about the future of humanity. Look at Star Trek. I'm talking about the original series, by the way. Now, while we're light years away from contacting an alien species or making starships that run on technology similar to Star Trek's warp drive, people decided to run with the concept in the series and build on it to make real-life technology based on technology in the series. Look at the communicator. Now look at how similar it is to old model cell phones. Yeah, someone took inspiration from Star Trek to make cell phones. Now telephones already existed, and it's smaller scale compared to Star Trek's main gimmick, but it still shows how a sci-fi show can be an inspiration for how real-life technology can meet and even surpass that of a TV show.
Here in the Matrix, we actually saw the augmented reality.
Virtual
Neo
reality.
Gets plugged into, you could say, the Oculus Rift, and then sees cybernetic reality that in fact isn't even real.
Neo is being plugged into a virtual reality. The Oculus Rift is a virtual reality device. You don't plug yourself into it, and this is what it looks like.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier, and I've got another Oculus Rift horror game for you guys, but this time I actually have a gamepad that I can play to really get into the game, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy this one.
Huh. That guy kicking him in the balls was pretty realistic.
That's because it was a real guy!
Mark, was that...
We see that the Matrix, the augmented reality in the Matrix, is false. And this is what's going to happen to humanity. They're going to be pushed into the augmented reality, losing touch with what God had originally created and falling into a fantasy world created by Satan to be a replacement to them for the real world that God had created for us.
I thought other people were creating this virtual reality, not Satan. So who's the Satan figure here?
And it's going to be promising fun and games and excitement and new special powers and abilities. Just come. Satan's going to tempt them, and the majority of the world will fall for the trap, plugging themselves into, damning themselves to hell for eternity into the Matrix.
And commandment number 11. Thou shalt not plug thyself into a world of virtual reality. For there Satan is thine admin, and decision thine virtual currency.
Yeah, would it kill you to slow down a bit? I'm carving this shit in stone because somebody decided it'd take another 2,000 years to invent Microsoft Word.
These technologies are being rolled out right now. You might be familiar with the Oculus Rift. This is just this, okay? In the Matrix, they're plugged in their brain. Well, okay, today we don't have a chip just yet, but we're putting these boxes over our head, and in no time, they're going to be rolling out new technology that is going to be right in the brain. In fact, these technologies are being worked on right now. You can go ahead and research neural interfaces that are brain chips. They basically put them in your brain, and it's like having an Oculus Rift in your mind.
Gotta love how you don't cite any sources for this. I looked up this neural interface thing, and the ones I found, at least regarding information for ones that are furthest along in testing, had nothing to do with video games. You seem to be talking about invasive brain-computer interfaces, and the ones that are furthest along in testing are to help treat blindness and restore control of limbs. Are you trying to say that restoring blindness with an invasive neural interface is a virtual reality? Because if that's what you're trying to say, then dude, go fuck yourself. Restoring a medical condition is not the same as immersing yourself in a fucking video game. And if you can't see that, then you're a fucking dumbass.
And by the way, no dumb shit, that's not an Oculus Rift in your mind. That's a hippocampal prosthesis, which is literally just an experimental artificial replacement for the part of your brain that processes emotions, links names with faces, and helps form memories. But oh, why must we play God by recreating parts of the human brain? Well, simply put, it's because damage to the hippocampus is believed to be a major cause of Alzheimer's, you twit! This is, of course, ignoring the fact that it's still completely experimental and isn't actually a thing yet, not the least of which because it won't work unless we were somehow able to create a silicon neuron interface that could translate neural impulses to digital signals and vice versa, which, spoiler, we haven't invented yet. The technology around which your entire Matrix conspiracy theory hinges doesn't even exist. It doesn't even take that much time to figure this out. I literally put this still image into a Google image search, got results for hippocampal prosthesis, and looked up the details on Wikipedia. That's literally all I had to do to catch you in a lie. You shouldn't be making it this easy!
So these technologies are coming, and look at all these people, okay? Mark Zuckerberg is
2 hours later. Mark Zuckerberg
trying to shove humanity in a soulless cybernetic trap. And here they are. Look at this. Look, losing touch with reality. Plugging right in. Do you see this? Open your eyes, people. They're showing you, look, plugged into a false reality. And here's Mark Zuckerberg plugging people into the Matrix. This is not good, okay? This is bad. This is something that we need to recognize. A lot of the world's leaders, in fact, have said, you know, Elon Musk and other very prominent scientists and leading intellectuals in the world, who I don't agree with all of them on every point, but they did strongly warn us, humanity, this is bad. Stop merging yourself with technology. Technology is going to overtake us. I mean, it's just common sense.
Elon Musk has said no such thing. On the contrary, he said we're likely already living in a computer simulation. Now, I've got endless respect for the real-world Tony Stark, don't get me wrong, but I can't help but feel like his statements in that regard are a little overblown. The only thing he has directly warned us about is the ongoing advancement of artificial intelligence and the possibility that, one day, our computers won't need us anymore. Less, I know kung fu, more, I'll be back.
Last I checked, nobody is merging themselves with stuff like the Oculus Rift or their smartphones. Also, the stuff like the interfaces from cyberkinetics is meant to treat various medical conditions.
But that's okay because the elite don't care about us and they want us to be completely mind controlled.
Which is why companies like Cyberkinetics, BrainGate, and BlackRock Microsystems are making these interfaces, right?
In the augmented reality, this false reality that doesn't even exist, which is being introduced by Pokemon Go.
You know, 6 minutes into this video and I just realized something. You've barely talked about Pokemon Go at all. It's almost as if you don't know jack shit about the app itself, haven't done any research into what it is and how it works, and are jumping to conclusions based on your own Neanderthalic paranoias about modern technology. But that'd never be the case, would it?
So you play your little game, and how it works is your GPS will pick up certain locations and you'll see stuff in the physical that is not there.
Nope, I was right.
Cyber. Now remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. I believe this is something very spiritual, okay? Church, listen. They are starting to open up what I believe is the veil. This is going to allow things to come into our reality. When man goes into this new realm, this augmented realm, we don't know what we're traversing into. We have never explored this, and I don't believe God equipped us to go in these areas.
There is no new realm, you absolute fucking dunce! It's literally just cartoon characters being overlaid onto your smartphone screen. That's it! This technology has been around literally for years. I own an AR-enabled device, and it's a goddamn toy! You're afraid of toys, you sheltered, inbred buffoon!
Jeez, Sigma, chill!
I am a fire type! I literally have no chill!
Now, could this be a good thing? Absolutely, of course it could. But the problem is, our world is controlled by sick and twisted people who don't have our best interest at hand.
This is the closest you've come to a legitimate point, but as usual, your interpretation of it is completely off the mark. The people in power who don't have our best interests at heart, not in hand, how do you fuck up such a simple idiom? Are our politicians, well, most of them anyway. And it's not because they have some big, evil, mustache-twirling plan to reduce the world to a herd of mindless slaves. It's because they're a bunch of greedy bastards who will do anything they can to make sure they've got the cushiest life they can manage, and they don't care who they hurt in the process. They don't hate you. They don't want to destroy you. They just don't care. Apathy is the enemy, not some nebulous shadow organization whose existence is limited to a trashy thriller novel. Quit deluding yourself, stop acting like a child, and start trying to actually help people. That is what the world needs, not this bullshit. Look, I'm done with this. All he does from this point on is repeat the same bullshit he started this video with and then ramble on about how Pokemon is, oh my god, this Satan, and we're all gonna die and go to hell. There's really no point in both of us covering it.
More for me, then.
They want us as slaves. They want us with little chips in our brains so that they can do what they want, right? If they have a chip in your mind and that chip can then access certain regions of your brain and control you, you're done.
And this is just one reason why there are plenty of people in the world who aren't transhumanists, and indeed, plenty who don't even know what transhumanism is.
This pushes this augmented reality and brainwashes the masses to think it's the coolest thing and jump right in, trying to find their little pocket monsters. By the way, this is a pocket demon, a pocket monster. Monster's another word for demon.
According to the thesaurus, they can be synonymous. According to the etymologies behind each word, however, monster, Middle English monster, from Latin monstrum, portent, monster, from monere, to warn. Demon, Middle English, from late Latin daemon, from Latin spirit, from Greek daemon, divine power. Yeah, two different words with different connotations there.
So as everyone's chasing around their little pocket demons, they're going into the augmented reality to look for pocket demons. Do you realize, church, the significance of that?
Monster, noun. An imaginary or legendary creature such as a centaur or harpy that combines parts from various animal or human forms. A creature having a strange or frightening appearance. An organism that has structural defects or deformities. A very large animal, plant, or object. One who inspires horror or disgust. Nowhere in this definition is there a religious connotation. Shut up!
Think about that. Pocket demons going into an alternate reality to find these things? Wake up. Thanks for taking the time. Tune back in. I did a great Bible study on how to draw nearer to God. I'll leave that linked up in the description section. Encourage you to definitely check that out.
Yeah, all the links are plugs. No sources of any kind to back up any of his bullshit arguments. Lovely.
Join me on the Bible study where we're going to be looking at studying the Word of God together. This is the most important thing that we can do in these times because this is all Bible prophecy. God warned us about this. He warned us that in the end times, man would become extremely deceived. And one of the deceptions is believing that we can be like God, that we could give ourselves eternal life by merging ourselves with technology and augmenting ourselves. And this is a massive, massive deception.
A small fraction of transhumanists want that, and very few of us actually identify as transhumanists.
Thanks for taking the time, everyone. This is TVC saying God bless each and every one of you. As always, stay vigilant and fear no evil.
What'd I tell you? Grade A nutcase.
I've seen worse, but he's by far the worst I've ever borrowed to commentate on. Okay, before I start, I need to give some context for this. I was made aware of Beyond the Trailer thanks to one of my subscribers who gave me possible material with Grace Randolph's review of the 50 Shades of Grey movie. I told him I'd have to pass because, believe it or not, I actually want to get away from 50 Shades for a while. Since another commentator I know got a different request from the same person for a different review by Grace Randolph, I decided to check out the Beyond the Trailer channel for stuff that might interest me and to find out how bad it gets. I saw that there was a trailer review for Unfriended, and since I already saw the trailer for it, I was curious about what Grace Randolph had to say about it. Since she shows the trailer before the actual review, I decided to make it a twofer of sorts. I decided to keep the trailer in because it makes good riffing material, and you have to see it for yourselves to realize just how ridiculous this movie looks. Oh, I got a Skype notification. Oh, no I didn't, that was the trailer. Wait a minute, I need to play that back. You're pressing play on a fucking video, why was there a Skype blip there?
You want to take some pictures? Post it. I need another drink.
So, just like other videos on YouTube? Oh, that's live leak. Never mind. Okay, two things. First off, oh look, they jerked the camera up so they wouldn't have to bother with squibs or digital effects, the hallmark of a quality film. Second, cheap techniques aside, I have an honest question here. How was she able to brain and keep the gun when she was at school? She didn't just take it out of her bag and shoot herself there. She didn't even have any sort of bag, she was just holding the gun. That implies that she had the gun out for a while. How did no one notice? Even with her being outside, you'd think that someone would have noticed and tried to stop her. Given the school shootings that have occurred in the past few years, I'm sure there are plenty of high schools across the country that are stepping up security. Hell, I went to a high school that had cameras and a fucking police officer making rounds at the school, and that was just in response to a rash of bomb threats that occurred there before I even got into high school. And all of those threats were hoaxes. If my high school stepped it up after a bunch of hoax bomb threats, I can imagine high schools stepping up security regarding guns and stuff, even if nothing happened there, just as a preventative measure. Even without tightened security at that high school, someone had to have seen that gun. What the fuck, people? Hold on, I just realized something. No, seriously, I actually just realized this while editing. That whole thing was caught on camera, meaning that someone actually did notice this. They got it on video, and it was posted online. This person just spent more time making sure it was all on video. Well, not all on video. I don't think I need to go over the camera being jerked up again. Whoever was recording Laura killing herself spent more of their efforts getting it recorded than they did trying to help her and talk her out of it or anything like that. If you'll excuse me. I'm done. I give up. That's it. I'm done.
What are you doing?
What is it?
You're less than a minute into the video. You can't quit now.
Oh, come on. Have you seen the bullshit so far?
Yes, but that's why you can't quit now. You need to tell everyone what else is wrong here.
Okay, fine. As if this isn't enough to tell people that this trailer, much less this entire fucking movie, isn't worth watching. Ah, shit. Okay, let's go. I just want to point out all the product placement that has occurred so far just in this trailer. YouTube, Live Leak, a Skype call on what's obviously a Mac. What's next, Pizza Hut?
Hey guys, what are you guys doing?
Did you guys buy your tickets 2 weeks ago like I asked you?
No.
Which seats are better, balcony or orchestra?
Hey Mitch, who's your buddy?
Who is that?
I just tried to hang up on him.
I guess no one noticed the don't hang up bit in the text chat. Haven't you seen these movies? Never ignore the hacker or the ghost that jumps into the call and says don't hang up.
Can we get rid of this person? I don't know. Is this here the whole time?
This is probably a glitch.
Oh my god, it's missing number.
Well, the glitch just typed.
Oh my god, it's even worse than missing number.
Who is doing this? This is Laura's account. Who would hack into a dead girl's account?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of hackers out there who would hack into dead people's accounts just to get people riled up.
Maybe it's Laura.
I'm sorry about that, but... Oh my god. Oh my god, okay. Okay. Are you fucking serious? I've seen this trailer quite a few times and I just now noticed this. Are they seriously trying to imply that Laura's ghost is doing this? I'm serious. All the other times before when I saw this trailer, I thought it was supposed to be a hacker of some sort, able to somehow mess with everyone's shit outside of their computers, and everyone just goes insane from paranoia or something. But they're trying to say it's her ghost doing this shit. Why would a ghost wait a whole year before exacting her vengeance on these people? Who is she haunting? Where was she haunting? What was she haunting? And more importantly, how is she able to do any of this?
Alright, everyone hands up right now. Who's doing this?
Oh my god.
Guys, seriously, who posted the video?
It wasn't me.
Well, one of us did.
You see how ridiculous this is? This ghost is somehow able to shut off the lights of everyone in all those different houses. Again, how is the ghost able to do this? New genre of horror? First of all, I think you mean subgenre, since horror is already its own genre. Second of all, if this is the new big subgenre of horror, I want no part of it. I'm perfectly content with my old school horror flicks, thank you very much.
Who's here?
Lock the door! Lock your door! Just hide! Why are you showing this? I didn't mean it!
Dear God. Okay, first of all, given how the video seems to be public, I'm pretty sure YouTube would have had that taken down by now, or at the very least, it would have been flagged. Second, are we supposed to sympathize with these characters? I mean, if one of the skeletons in their closets is this, I can only assume it gets worse from there.
I swear to you!
Oh, you swear?
If this shit scares you, then you must not have much experience with horror films. Which is funny, given the guy saying this is a critic for a horror site.
Man, what's going on?
What is it? Ken, talk to us!
I'm signing off.
No, I'll kill you!
I have a gun, you hear me?
Wait, did he just say he has a gun?
I have a gun, you hear me?
No, you fucking idiot! Never get the gun out when this shit's happening!
Why is he counting down?
And yes, even the title of the movie is fucking stupid. As if everything else wasn't stupid enough. That was the final nail in the coffin for me as far as this movie's concerned. I know what I will not be seeing in the spring, that's for damn sure.
This is gonna be fun.
Given how you waited a whole year, it better be. God damn it, Skype, I thought Oh wait, it's another place in the trailer where the Skype blip has no reason to be there.
Oh God, what fresh hell is this?
Fresh hell? No, this isn't fresh. A similar but different premise has already been done with the frame narrative of the first film of the VHS series, and it's sad that I'm saying that since I'm basically saying the whole thing was done more convincingly using VHS tapes as a device, and a more mundane and frankly believable version of a movie with events happening over Skype and webcam was done with the movie's Open Windows and Cyberbully. And I'm not talking about the shitty ABC Family movie, I'm talking about the made-for-TV British movie starring Maisie Williams. Though more horror movies have done something similar as well. There's Smiley, Fear.com, Kaido, Pulse, the American remake of Kaido, Chain Letter, Need I Go On, and really, the only one worth watching out of all of these is Kaido, because at least that one did it first.
Is this movie really just one long Skype conversation? Talk about super uncinematic, but yet also super cheap.
Nah, I already knew this movie was super cheap with that not gunshot bit in the trailer.
With a gimmick, a hook, and that seems to be the name of the game these days with breaking into the horror genre. So this could work.
I highly doubt that, given how unintentionally funny the trailer was and how this kind of thing has been done for about 14 years now.
And to be fair, at the beginning of the trailer, at least I was impressed with the performances from the actors. I don't know if it was improvised or scripted, but it seemed real. It seemed like they were actually having these conversations. For some reason, the question about where's better to sit in the theater, you know, the balcony, for a concert, the balcony or the orchestra, I was like, that just like caught my attention. I was like, oh wow, you know, where is the better place to sit? I prefer the orchestra. I know some people like the balcony. So that really just kind of brought me in a little bit into the movie.
So let me get this straight. It wasn't the video of that character that was posted. It wasn't that character killing herself. It wasn't a hacker who took over her account or, God forbid, her ghost with all the threats. The mundane conversation of the other characters was more engaging than the horror elements of what's supposed to be a horror film. That should tell you all something about this movie.
But otherwise, when it started to get unrealistic, where there's some kind of force making them shoot themselves with their hands in blunders, I was like, really? Especially when you're going for the cinema verite of what seems to be real-time Skype conversation.
And again, if this is supposed to be a ghost, it implies that this ghost is somehow able to work through the goddamn internet to haunt each one of those people and force them to harm themselves. At least even she's saying that this seems ridiculous, but I don't think she realizes just how ridiculous it sounds.
And there are inventive ways that you could do that, you know, having people be visited one by one while they're on the Skype call. Oh, don't hang up, I need someone to help me. I mean, that could have potentially worked. By adding the supernatural element, or what seems like a supernatural element, it just, to me, goes from maybe the height of these kinds of horror films to jumping the shark for them.
Okay, at least we can agree that the hand in the blender was fucking stupid and that neither of us can understand how anyone is supposed to take this entire movie seriously.
But I'm curious, I got a couple of requests to review this trailer, but nobody gave their hand away. They weren't like, review it because it's awesome, or review it because it's ridiculous.
Maybe because it's supposed to be your job to tell everyone if it's awesome or ridiculous, seeing as you're the one with the review channel. You mentioned some parts of the trailer that looked ridiculous, but you haven't given any sort of concrete, oh, I'm definitely going to see this movie and you should see it too, or this movie looks stupid, I'm going to pass on it and I wouldn't recommend anyone else watch it. People shouldn't have to tell you if a movie's good or bad. You should be the one telling us that.
So I'm really curious down below in the comments where you stand on this, and can you imagine yourself seeing this?
No, I can't, because I have no intentions of seeing this movie ever. I'm sorry, but the premise of this movie looks so fucking stupid that had I not first become aware of the trailer for this movie thanks to a friend showing me Hellsing 920's right for the trailer, I would have assumed this was a spoof, a parody trailer that someone else made. I can only hope to view this movie as an unintentional comedy, which means it already fails as a horror movie for me. It doesn't even seem worth watching a movie just to riff. Leprechaun's a good movie to riff on because at least that was intended as a horror comedy. Blame the marketers for presenting it as a straight-up horror flick because it was never intended to be so. It's still bad, but at least it's so bad that it's good. Unfriended just looks bad. Given how Grace Randolph's outro was just left, I'm gonna close it off here. This review accomplished nothing. The fact that she called this fresh shows how much she doesn't keep up with horror movies, both obscure and mainstream. She even seems to contradict herself on whether or not the film seems to be worth watching based on the trailer. Isn't the point of a review of the trailer to give a concrete, I'd go see it, or I'll pass on it? Because you didn't say whether or not you'd go see the movie once it comes out. You didn't really say much at all, given how the review was shorter than the actual trailer. I know it's just a trailer, but come on! I did a better job reviewing the trailer than you did, and I was just riffing on it. Anyway, as far as my opinion of this thing goes, I can think of many better horror movies to watch. Hell, even non-horror flicks seem to pull out the Skype and webcam thing better. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch some real horror.
Oh, bite me, that title is clever.
That fruit was hanging so low that you had to bend down to grab that one. Hope you didn't throw out your back.
As someone who avidly follows Silverquill, one thing I've seen him lament several times is the fact that there aren't enough male characters on the show. In fact, a lot of people in the Brony community have been lamenting the fact that there aren't enough male characters in Friendship is Magic. I personally do not.
Nice to know that you don't feel that way, but to those who do, maybe the reason why is because this is a show for young girls? The Powerpuff Girls was a show for young girls that had a large following of boys in spite of that, and very little male characters that weren't villains. Yet nobody complained about the lack of male characters on that show. In Friendship is Magic, we have characters like Big Macintosh, who's a family member of the Apple family that we see quite a bit, Discord, T-Rex, and Sombra, who were three of the main villains of the show, and Spike, who, need I remind everyone, is one of the main freaking characters. Yet that's not enough for these people?
I get enough male characters in every other piece of media that I consume, so it's relatively refreshing that Friendship is Magic has a predominantly female cast. And the show staff themselves have gone on record as saying that the reason they don't feature male characters all that often is simply because the cast is big enough already. This is also why your favorite background pony isn't going to get the day in the limelight you wish they would. The series is about them, not everyone else. This is also why you tend to see more male characters crop up in either supporting roles, antagonist roles, or exist entirely as a joke. It seems that the writing team is aware of this complaint and tries to remedy it whenever they can.
Exactly. There are so many cool one-shot male characters like Cheese Sandwich and Cranky Doodle Donkey, yet people are still complaining that there aren't enough male characters on the show. They should be grateful that we have characters like them, T-Rex, Discord, Sombra, and such. If it's lack of exposure they're complaining about, again, Spike.
In fact, this is entirely why Shining Armor exists. Everything about him, from his storyline in A Canterlot Wedding, to his design, to his occupation, to his freaking name, is about making a silly little subversion of the damsel in distress trope. Now, we all kinda get that, right? Shining Harbor's habit of being put in a position where Twilight or Cadence has to save him is a direct subversion of the knight in shining armor saving the princess by flipping the roles around. Yeah, it's as dated a subversion as the trope itself, but it's kinda like Eowyn going, I am no man. Yeah, it's cliche, but it's still kind of awesome.
Even I have to admit that it's a shame that we don't see Shining Armor get a chance to really kick ass. The best we've seen of him is serve as a diversion to distract Sombra and the Crystal Empire, and after that his magic is rendered null for the rest of the episode. But hey, it's already nuts keeping track of all these different characters, and we get cool male one-off characters and antagonists to make up for that.
Hell, I recognized that it was a dated joke while I was watching A Canterlot Wedding, and I still giggled at it. But either way, the inherent uselessness of Shining Armor and the Canterlot Guard, combined with the way Spike has seen very little development.
Spike seen very little development? Then what do you call All's Well That Ends Well, Secret of My Excess, Dragon Quest, and Spike at Your Service?
And Big Mac never really speaking has led some people to improperly assume that Friendship is Magic is practicing some form of sexist underrepresentation of men.
And to that I say, there are still plenty of cool male characters on the show. Yeah, it sucks that they made Big Macintosh speak less and less, but he still has a solid presence. Yeah, some of the coolest male characters are one-offs and antagonists, but they're still there.
Now, it's no surprise that when a work like Assassin's Creed fails to include female characters, it's met with almost universal condemnation, while a work that introduces a majority female cast is often met with a more reasoned, nuanced response. Or, to put it in the words of many a frustrated blogger, why is it okay to, underrepresent male characters, but not to underrepresent female characters? Now, more often than not, one would argue this point in the form of a gently considered academic deconstruction of the effect of gender roles on the influence of popular culture, but I try to keep these under 10 minutes, so I'm gonna have to cut to the chase.
Dude, please don't tell me you take Anita Sarkeesian seriously. I don't care how academic she presents her videos. The moment she disabled comments and ratings is the moment I stop seeing it as an academic undertaking, because she refuses to open the floor to discussion and debate. Because God forbid someone presents legitimate criticism of her videos.
There was a time, I don't know when, I didn't have much time for men. But this is now, and that was then. I'm learning. A girl alone, all on her own, must try to have a heart of stone.
This is why. You see, guys, in an ideal world, you'd have a point, because in an ideal world, not only would there be no sexist character tropes now, there would have been no sexist character tropes ever.
Here's where I need to apologize because I know little about Bayonetta and I don't even know what the other character was that he showed. But going from what little I do know about Bayonetta, that game and its sequel really aren't meant to be taken seriously. Also, I fail to see how those games are sexist to begin with, but again, I know little about those games.
And there certainly wouldn't have been thousands of years of patriarchal social systems that viewed women as either broodmares or signs of wealth that only just started breaking away about 70 years ago and influenced generations upon generations of writers and character designers, the poisonous legacy of which still persists to this very day. No, in an ideal Sunshine and Rainbows dancing world, none of that would have ever happened, and so making a mockery of your token male character would be exactly the same as doing so to your token female character.
Except the only male character made fun of like that in the show was Shining Armor, and there are plenty of other male characters who had their chance to shine, especially Spike, who again is a main character.
But we don't live in an ideal world, we live in a shitty world, where all that stuff happened and all the after effects still linger, and so one kid's cartoon having no prominent or capable male character...
Okay, fine, keep ignoring Spike even when he's right there! I'm sorry to keep repeating myself like this, but I can't emphasize enough that Spike is still a main character, just like the main six, and gets plenty of exposure and kick-ass moments in the show.
Is not on any plane equal to 4 entire mediums still struggling with developing proper female characters. Still others may object more rationally, arguing that because the show is enjoyed by both little girls and boys, it sends a bad message that the boys have no real role model in the series, and I'd say that they have a lot of role models in the series. Here's 6 of them. Are we about to assume that little boys can't be inspired and look up to female characters? Because I take exception to that.
I greatly appreciate the fact that you say that a boy can look at female characters as role models, as I agree with that statement. Just like a girl can look at a male character as a good role model.
So I try not to make it known my yearning. I try to show I have no need. I really do. I don't succeed.
The unfortunate truth about gender diversity in any medium is that if you do it properly, then nobody notices. The Mass Effect games have some of the best male and female characters ever made, and I don't recall any mass media praise about Commander Shepard.
Maybe that has something to do with the fact that the player can choose Shepard's gender, and at least from what I could tell of the Mass Effect franchise, male Shepard was intended to be the canon version of the character. Please correct me if I'm wrong since I never played any of the Mass Effect games and don't know much about the franchise. That aside, being able to pick the player character's gender is a similar reason as to why there wasn't much said about the fact that you can choose your character's gender in the Pokemon games starting with Pokemon Crystal. Then again, I don't know what game critics had to say about that at the time because the game came out when I was 9 years old and I didn't care about any of that. Though I remember that I and a female Pokefan friend of mine at the time loved the fact that, hey, we can play as girls now! The point is, it's hard to get much of a response nowadays if you can pick your player character's gender, since games have been doing it for at least 14 years now. Never mind the fact that even in games where you can't pick your player character's gender, we've had canon female characters in games for decades. Case in point, Samus Aran from the Metroid series. Were these female characters few and far between? Yes, but that doesn't mean that they didn't exist. The fact that they were around to begin with shows that the steps were being taken. Because we've had decades to get it right, that should say something about how nobody notices when it's done right. Maybe it's that we're getting to the point that there's no need to praise a good character because she's a good female character. It's not that we don't notice, it's that we're getting to the point where nobody really needs to point it out anymore because of the progress made in the past few decades.
The Last Airbender also has a very gender-diverse cast of very well-designed characters, and more people were focused on the fact that Katara was a strong, wise, motherly figure rather than her importance in the discussion of women in society. Gender diversity done well is not something you get praised for, and you shouldn't be praised for it. In 2014, a gender-diverse cast is not some grand progressive ideal. It's the default setting. It's the bare minimum standard. If you cannot create at least one well-designed character of each gender, your writing team is substandard. It's not like this is a difficult thing. This isn't some labyrinthine puzzle. There's only 2, and the differences between a male and female character in overall design are entirely cosmetic. Designing a gender-diverse cast is like writing a gay character. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
That I have to disagree with. Yes, the male and female thing does seem like the easiest part of it, but I wouldn't compare it to writing a gay character or say that writing a gay character is easy. It isn't easy to write a gay character, and even nowadays, too many TV shows and movies rely on stereotypes as cop-outs. Case in point, Glee. I've only seen the pilot episode of Glee, but the portrayal of Kurt in that episode alone made me absolutely hate the character and hate the show, because he was presented as a walking stereotype. TV shows and movies should not have to rely on the stereotypes. I don't care how much time they spent subverting it later on in the show. The fact that they used the stereotypes to begin with is a fucking cop-out. But because of the presence of that stereotype, there's still a challenge to writing gay characters that will be accepted by viewers, readers, or whatever your audience is. And it goes beyond gay characters. There's a convincing black character, and then there's the sassy black friend, just to name one other example. The challenge isn't about just writing a diverse cast. It's writing a diverse cast and making it believable, and not a set of walking stereotypes.
You can take any good character and gender swap them without losing anything about them as a character, and those who pretend that a diverse cast is either a massive undertaking, or a limitation of creative freedom, or a social justice warrior agenda, are just terrible writers trying to cover their ass.
It's not a massive undertaking, nor is it a limit, but it's still not as easy as you claim it is. In order to make the character of whatever minority believable, you have to do your research and cater to that minority. I don't want to give too much information, but I'm working on a novel right now, and part of the challenge of it is doing that research to make an effective cast of characters that includes various minorities and have it work. Like I said before, it's one thing to have a diverse cast, it's another to make it believable. And that's why this kind of writing is more challenging than one may believe at first. All that's left of this video is the outro, so I'm gonna end it here. Jerry did present some good points, but there were still points that I had to counter. And I'm still hoping that this guy doesn't actually take Anita Sarkeesian seriously.